Hey, I'm Steve Miller, and I have the pleasure of pastoring North Star Community Church in Memphis, Tennessee. This is my lovely wife, Dorothy Ingram Miller. And Dorothy works as a juvenile attorney in the Shelby County.
And we are so excited to be speaking with you today about marriage. We did a previous session where we touched on issues such as expectations in marriage, and we talked about money, ex-spouses. We talked briefly about sex and just some of the rules of engagement, how to fight and how to fight fair. And so in this session, we want to move just a little bit deeper into some of the issues that could actually cause you to go down to the courthouse and file for divorce. But when you start talking about divorce in Christian marriage, is that a thing, Steve? I thought all you needed was love. Isn't that it? All you need is love?
No. Certainly much deeper than that.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that's so important that I think we really need a good foundation.
Yeah.
We really need a foundation
Certainly.
for marriage. And I'm such a component of spending the time with the pastor, finding out what we have in common, but also finding out those areas of differences,
Right.
so that we can address those. And not that we're going to agree, but at least we have a sense of awareness where we don't agree.
Certainly. But even with our differences and the things that we do agree on, there are just some other issues that sometimes creep into marriage that just will affect our marriage profoundly. Issues such as childhood traumas.
Right.
Disability, depression or other mental illnesses, things like that, infidelity, keeping secrets, the death of a child, drug and alcohol issues, money, bankruptcy, sex, or the lack thereof. These are some of the things that we consider major issues that can deeply affect marriage. And I'm just going to go ahead and be transparent. When we got married, I did not know that I had some childhood trauma in my background. I didn't understand that. I wasn't educated on that. And I just knew that I went into this depression, and I really didn't even know what the depression was. I just knew that I was eating a lot and gaining all this weight, and I didn't even really understand why. And then I was having difficulty at work because I was unproductive. And I'm not going to get further into that, but one of the things that we did seek outside help, and there's nothing wrong with seeking some outside help. There's nothing ungodly about that or says anything about your Christianity or your spirituality. But we recognized that we did need some help. But when we went to the counselor, the reason that I agreed to go is because I knew that Steve needed fixing. And that I was looking for the counselor to tell him the things that he needed to do, so that our marriage would be better and it would work if he could just understand what he needed to fix. And I was in for a rude awakening, because when we got to the counseling, the counselor identified some things that were going on in me and recognized that I was dealing with a spirit of depression, and made a referral for me to go see a psychiatrist. And I'm like, a psychiatrist? I'm not crazy. But it didn't have anything to do with being crazy. It had to do with dealing with a mental illness that I didn't even know what it was or how to identify it. And I'm gonna tell you, it was a life-changing experience for me to dig down deep and to deal with that depression and those issues, and to do that therapy for 2 solid years. And I'm gonna tell you another thing I did. I took some medication. As Christians, are we allowed to take medication?
Well, my theme is always prayer and Prozac.
All right.
So that we do both that. And here's the interesting thing, though, that we have other health issues, but everybody wants to say that I got healed of the issues that deal with my mental health. But I don't see the diabetic throwing away their insulin. I don't see that. I don't see the person with the heart disease throwing away their medication. I don't see the person with ED throwing away their Viagra. Can I say that? I'm just saying, they don't never flush it down the toilet.
All right.
So I think that if we're having some mental health issues, I think what we do is that these are trusted professionals that I think they're ordained by God, so that we can live life to the fullest.
I totally agree, because as I said, it was a life-changing experience for me. Now, another issue that I want to briefly touch on is infidelity. Now, is there life after infidelity in a marriage?
There is. There's life after infidelity, and sometimes the relationship is actually stronger because the Bible doesn't say that we have to divorce. It does let us know that that could be an option, and in some circumstances, certainly it may be the thing to do. But I think that sometimes what we have to do is explore underlying issues.
Sure.
You know, what's going on with the person who committed the affair, but is there something going on with the other individual too? And I mean, as we kind of go down the list and maybe talk about sex, and then maybe we can see maybe some kind of connections.
Well, also infidelity and issues such as keeping secrets.
Okay.
Now, we had a discussion on the way here about how sometimes men think they're protecting their spouse if they, say, for example, get a diagnosis and they don't want to tell the spouse. But that actually hurts the marriage.
It does.
Those kinds of things. And you're not really protecting your spouse by keeping that. Another issue we talked about, we've known some couples that dealt with the issue of gambling and hiding debt. When I was a young attorney, I did a bankruptcy for a relative, and she had told me that she thought that they had about $20,000 in credit card debt. So when we got to the office and we're sorting everything out, the husband just started pulling all of these credit cards out. He ended up with $92,000 in credit card debt. And needless to say, there was something else going on also. There was a car that he had purchased that she didn't know anything about because there was some infidelity involved in that, but also hiding that debt and keeping the secret. So those things are harmful to the marriage.
And some other times debt can be something like somebody has a gambling habit or whatever, or doing maybe there's some drug abuse going on. I think that I think before a couple gets married, I think they need to put everything out on the table. You know, income, my debt, just all those things. But then again, I think too that really on a yearly basis, they ought to sit down again. It's just kind of like getting a marriage tune-up.
Yeah.
This is where I am. This is how much I owe. This is who I owe.
Yeah.
This is what I have saved. Those kinds of things.
And one of the times that would kind of bring an opportunity to do that is that you got to file income taxes. And if you're filing jointly, that would be a great time to just kind of go over the books and look at things and where are we and what are our goals about our money and our finances. Because money can kill a marriage.
Yeah, or lack of.
Or the lack of, truly. But now, Steve, do Christian couples get involved with drug and alcohol issues? Certainly not.
Yeah, you know, I think what we find out when we look at it realistic, when we who say that we are Christians, I think what we find out many times that there aren't many differences between sometimes what happens in the circle and sometimes what happens in the church. And so we do find individuals who struggle, who are in pain, and maybe they turn to drugs or alcohol or something else that's illegal. And unfortunately, sometimes there's a veil where a person can't be transparent and honest. But I'm going to say this. Even if you can live life and you can be single and you may not have a spouse, but you got to have one trusted friend that you can talk to if you're going to guard your emotional health. And there needs to be somebody that I can share with, and I can tell, somebody who can hold water.
Sure.
That I can share with and be transparent with.
Sure.
And somebody too that is not going to say, yeah, man, if I was you, I'd do this, but somebody who can listen, and somebody who is also has the ability to refer.
Sure. You know, in some of the troubles that we had in our marriage, and we did, as we said earlier, we went to marital counseling, individual counseling, but we also had a godly couple that we could talk to, share with, and pray with. Yeah, you have to be really careful because if you're pastoring the church as we are, then you might not want to choose somebody in your church. And you just have to be really careful about selecting who that couple will be. But we were fortunate that we were able to find that. And it was really something that helped us get through some of the really tough times.
And one thing that we learned was that when we look at couples who have long tenures in marriage, it does not necessarily mean they have not had issues,
Very much
but
so.
but they found a way to work through the issues. And I'm gonna be open and testify. One time we were having a situation or whatever, and one of the greatest things my wife ever told me, she says, "I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know how we're gonna find an answer, but divorce is not on the table." And now, since that is not on the table, it forces a couple to dig deep and work.
Well, I think sometimes you just have to take that off the table.
Right.
I mean, if it's a situation where there's some abuse involved,
Right.
divorce may be the best option. You may not have a choice. That's something that you may need to do. But if there's any way to work through a situation, take the divorce off the table and then work from there. Even in something as intense as death of a child. Now, we have not experienced death of a child. We did lose a child, but during the pregnancy, we did lose a child, and that was traumatic enough. But for those who have actually lost children, I know that sometimes people aren't able to, they're just not able to work through that.
Right. And one of the reasons is that if something happened to one of my parents, you would be right there for me. I could lean on you, and vice versa. But when a child is lost, both parents are grieving.
Sure.
And so, and what we really have to do, you have to call in your sisters, your girlfriends, all to support you. And I have to call in my brothers and my uncles to support me.
Sure.
We both need support because we can't be there for each other during this time of grief. It's just something that we need to have a sense of awareness about.
Sure, I get that. And as I said, all these kinds of issues are things that really could lead to someone filing for the divorce. But want to encourage you again to be open and honest about your feelings about
Right.
some of these things. And my thing is, don't be a martyr. Don't lay down your life. And I'm going to keep it all in, and I'm not going to share with my spouse because they're going through enough. You need to let it out. You need to talk about it. And
Right.
sometimes talking is very difficult for men.
Right.
I don't know why that is. I guess it's the way they're made up. But I would encourage you to be willing to talk it out. And, pastoral counseling, even psychological counseling. Can you share a little bit about the difference between the two?
Well, I would say that the pastoral piece is going to be more biblically based, and it may be used as a pattern.
Sure.
As a pattern. And I think when we get into the psychological piece, I think we may be dealing more with science and some of our discoveries that we've made.
So should Christians not seek psychological counseling?
No, I think that we have to take advantage. I think both of them are helpful.
Sure.
I think very helpful. And I think that sometimes if I were to refer somebody and to a psychological counselor, or I could walk beside them pastorally.
Mm-hmm.
I could just journey with them.
And be a support.
And be a support.
Sure.
And be a support. So, yeah.
As I stated, when we first went to counseling, I got referred to a psychiatrist, and I was just totally offended. I just, and embarrassed, and so many people, they think that seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist, it means that you're crazy, and some people say maybe you are a little crazy, but maybe I am too. Nevertheless, it's nothing wrong with seeking that professional help. And you just have to, get some referrals. Sometimes you can get a referral for a godly Christian counselor. They're out there.
Right.
They really are. And don't be afraid of, going to rehab if that's what you need to do.
Right.
Or object to taking medication if that's going to get you stable and feeling better. And marriage retreats. We're big on marital retreats and things like that because we've seen the benefit of that. But I guess one of the things we would like to leave you with about marriage and our marriage is learn to have fun. Learn to laugh. You don't have to be so uptight. all the time and being pious and, Pastor, what would you like for dinner? And Pastor, this, and the children misbehaved today. No, we can be real. We can laugh about things, and we can be comfortable, can we not? I know when we got married, he was very uptight and wound up. He was just oh my God.
I was. That's very true. I was, and I really wasn't being my authentic self. And I think I was trying really to be more to fit into a role. And now that I'm my authentic self, people really kind of think I'm funny. Everybody except my wife. She's the only one who will not laugh at my jokes. Everybody else laugh, but she will not laugh.
Because typically his jokes are stale and boring. Preacher jokes that, okay. Anyway, comedian he's not in my book. But if you can afford a vacation, even if it's a mini vacation,
Right.
do that. Get some time away, particularly if you have children. And without the children, do you know it's all right to take a vacation without the children? You take one with them, take one without them. Try to keep some romance in your marriage some kind of way. I know once you've been married a long time, it gets hard, and it gets harder, so you have to work at it.
Right.
And marriage does require some work, let me tell you. It really does require work, and you got to be willing to work it. Another thing that I'd like to share with people is reclaim some of your personal interests. If you like to paint, or you like to horseback ride, or whatever, and you've been married 15 years and you haven't done any of that, reclaim some of that. Right. What do you think about that?
I think it makes for such a better marriage, I think, to reconnect. And I guess I would just like to say this for me in closing, that just kind of a shout out to the guys, that we do have a tendency to talk about things that sometimes are really not that important. The Super Bowl, or who's in the playoffs, and all those things. But I think we really need to find a way to be open and talk about some of the issues that we have. So whether it's daddy pain or whatever, we need to do that. Women live longer, and part of the reason that they live longer is because of the support system they have. And I'll also say this: I think one of the findings that I had too, I thought that I used to tell God it was the woman that He gave me. Lord, it's the woman that You gave me. But now I have come to the conclusion that it's really the man.
It's truly the man. Right?
It's really the man in the mirror. So as I've examined myself, and I found out that that's the only person that I can change, and so I'm grateful for that.
And if I were to leave you with something, I'd say be flexible and keep an open mind, because there are many things that you can do to evolve in your marriage and to be creative and to just embrace change. Anything else? I think we got it covered for another 35 years.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.